So I came out like 192, dropped to 95, down 93. My actual question that I did, maybe go all the way down to I gave you a connect and I took 28 and I said this way is like a mile up and down the right. But that's not because it's 6 miles up and down the right. I was actually in Reading and I guess it's really safe that way. Not in Reading, right? So I spent a couple times on the street down the other part, right?
Down 93 off Route 62.
I saw 62. I said, we don't go home that way.
Every day, riddle house. Case of fire, never use a fire escape. I know this was a test, man, but I'm not getting on that thing. My captain will cheer to me out.
That's the important.
I was late.
Good morning, everyone. Hello? Thank you. Good morning. Welcome to Kitty's. Scott, would you lead us to the pledge of allegiance? Everyone stand, please. Where's the flag?
Behind you, all that.
The United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to acknowledge our past presidents, John Clancy, over here, taking your money, and Jeff Coates, I'm sorry. We have,
No respect.
I'm sorry about that. We have an application for membership from Thomas Edward Lewis, Jr. He's affiliation application, Bay State Building and Remodeling Incorporated. He's the owner. He's from 1 Sherwood Avenue, Peabody, Mass. And he's sponsored by Thomas St. Pierre or Pierre. Do I hear a motion to accept his?
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
I think you should stand up and recognize you.
Is he here? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Tom.
Something's wrong with that mic. Rick. Definitely the volume and the...
Huh? Yes, give it back to you.
Something's wrong with it, right.
Too close to the box. As you all know, we recently were approved to teach CSO classes, construction supervisor license class, like CEUs, and we're presently working at getting a program together to teach. It's a little slow progress. We are volunteers, and it takes a little time to put this together. Cash calendars. If you have any money or tickets you want to return, make sure you bring them to Paul Nani. If you need more calendars, see Paul Nani. We need the money in by the next month's meeting, so don't forget that. We still have a need for volunteers for the Massachusetts Federation of Building Officials. That's the organization that all the three organizations from the state voted to join and to represent us. And we need members to volunteer to meet down in Sturbridge once a month. So please, I haven't had any volunteers yet. Yeah. Well, Mike does a good job while he's doing it. He's welcome to volunteer if he'd like. We also need people to volunteer for the New England Building Officials Education Association. I bring this up every month that we have a meeting. We really need to get involved in what's going on, or we're going to lose our foothold in the state. And I think that people are going to see us as a bunch of disinterested building officials, and I hate to see that.
Can the association send out a memo telling us what's available and what type of time commitment, so we have some idea what we'd be volunteering for? Because I think a lot of it comes down to, you know, we don't know what's involved, don't know how much time commitment, and don't know where the meetings are. So I think with a little more info, maybe we'd get a little more participation.
Good idea. Scott?
Yeah.
Maybe not, I think it's a good idea. I'm remiss of not doing that. Speaking of Scott, we appointed him as secretary of MBCIA, and he did his first minutes, and he did a wonderful job. I want to commend him for that. We have at the counter up here applications for the Eastern States Building Officials Federation seminar in April 1st through the 4th, and that's going to take place in Long Island. Those of you that haven't attended should really consider it. It's a good take, and it's very educational. It's a good time also. So the applications are up here on the counter. It's also online at esbof.org. You can get the application online there. Going back to MFBO, MFBO has Mass Federation of Building Officials has a website which is mfbo.org, and they publish the minutes of their meetings every month on that website. So you should take a look at that website. We all have a website. Of course, MBCIA.org is also a website. I received a letter from Tony Z, as he's known. I believe it's Zahararidis, and it says, I did not attend the last Board of Directors meeting because it was apparent that I was going to be late again, and decided not to disrupt the meeting and returned to my office. My situation does not seem to be changing anytime soon, and being aware that my tardiness is a problem, I will have to step back and resign and allow the board to pick a representative that will be there on time. When my situation changes, I will hopefully return and redeem myself as a valuable asset to the board. Thank you for the opportunity to serve as long as I have. It made me a better building official. I've accepted his resignation and looking for people that are interested in joining the board. If you are interested in joining the board, I would recommend that you forward me a resume and a letter from your town official in charge, the appointing authority, that would allow you to attend our meetings. So if you're interested, get in touch with me about that. I want to commend Dan Sullivan, Richard Benvenu, Scott Hammond, Lori Lavoli, Dave Lindsay, Paul Nani, Paul Welcome, Mike Desmond, and Dan Sullivan, I said already, for producing this new calendar of events for this year. It takes a lot of work to do this, and they really put a good effort into it, and I think you'll like the program that we put forth. We got a good response from our polling asking what we would, excuse me, we got a good response from the membership on what they thought they would like to have for education, and we hopefully will meet that desire. Our next meeting is understanding braced roll requirements, the IRC 610.2. Lou DeVoe and Steve Noon, and that will be at the Holiday Inn in Boxborough, Mass. on February 23rd. Today's meeting is on fire escapes from the, I left the paper over here, National Fire Escape Association. And I'll address that later. As a reminder, as a courtesy to our speakers and the members around you, if you feel the need to have a discussion with someone, would you please step out of the room? We've been receiving a lot of complaints from members about the disruption that it's causing. So please, while the speakers are there, please keep it down or step out of the room. I thank those of you that have been making the reservations for a place in our seminars, and I hope you'll continue to do that. And those of you that haven't been doing it, please do it. And if for any reason you can't attend, you need to cancel it. We're considering sending bills out to people that aren't letting us know in time. We have to pay for the meals and that, the facility, and we base that on the amount of reservations that we have. So it can get quite expensive to us if you don't show up. I want to thank, as you probably have all received the blueprint. I'm not ready for that yet, excuse me. In the blueprint, you received a picture of a logo that was made up, and our old logo, and which was this one here. Did everyone receive a copy of our newsletter? I'd like to, we had adopted this one. I said, that's not right. We should probably take a vote on membership, see what they really like, if they like the old logo or the new logo. So I'd like a show of hands, and who would like to take on the new logo? Can I have a show of hands? Okay, and who would like the old logo? Well, I think it's in favor of the old logo. People want to stay with the old logo. So, duly noted. So Scott and his staff have been diligently producing this program for a long time, and I want to thank him and his staff for the work they've done. Scott, would you step up here and talk to us?
Good morning, everybody. Just a few things on the blueprint, as we're calling it now. Apparently that's what it used to be called years ago. We had a recommendation that we change the name of it, and I thought it was a good recommendation. One thing about this newsletter is that I really need some input from everybody out here. And I'm not really asking you to open it up and then critique my grammar or anything like that, but what I'd like you to do is, if you have something you want to see in there, as someone just suggested, maybe in the next one, we'll put in what our different organizations are that we're looking for volunteers for, when those organizations meet, when those groups meet, what that commitment is that we're looking for. And we'll put that in there. But anything else that's topical that you would like to see in this newsletter, you can find a link to my email address in our MBCIA website, so please feel free just to get something to us whenever you can. On that note, I'm going to introduce Cisco Menezes. He's with Fire Escape Services. And Cisco, I'd just like to introduce our organization to you and just give you an idea that, we are the MBCIA. We're the second oldest building official organization in the country, the oldest in Massachusetts. We're incorporated in 1939. We have 400 members strong, and out of the 692 building officials that are in the state. So we're primarily an educational organization. We, our focus is on elevating the level of professionalism and knowledge of building officials. And one thing that we're all very proud of right now is that we've recently been certified by the state to actually provide education to construction supervisor license holders. So that's just a little bit about ourselves, and we're looking forward to your seminar.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm going to stick it, see if it'll work properly. I'm going to be going through a slideshow with you guys, and this is interactive, so it's not just me speaking. I'm going to show things. Stop me anytime you want. You don't have to agree with everything I say. I'm going to talk about 3 codes: the International Building Code, the International Fire Code, and the NFPA code. And then I'm going to show our Massachusetts code, and I'm going to show where fire escapes are basically in there, and how all 3 codes basically say the same thing. Fire escapes must be load tested, and or other satisfactory evidence must be given to the building official in lieu of a load test. And that's all we're going to talk about today. But if anybody has any questions or anything related to the code, whether it's on the maintenance code, I'm going to let it all be within you guys, because I'm not a code consultant here. I'm just going to tell you what the codes are, because I teach this very same class nationwide. This class is being recorded. So if you go to firescapeacademy.com, not .com, Firescape Academy on YouTube, there's about 500 videos of inspections and training sessions that I've done, just like this, from here to Seattle, Chicago to Corpus Christi. And so if you, and this class will probably be up online within 30 days. So in case you missed something, in case some of your people didn't show up that do touch fire escapes, you can just go look on this, and it's usually a 2-hour class broken up into 2 parts. And I always throw some downtown walk-around classes. If we didn't do it with your group, we'll do it with some other group and throw it in the back. So it's very educational. If you don't like looking at your own inspectors, and you can look at other people's inspectors in case you don't like the people you're working with. But today I'm going to be working with educating you on just what is going on, not just in Boston. This is not a Boston problem. This is a national problem from the north to the south, from the east to the west. And hopefully we got enough photographs to show you quite a bit of it. So let's see if we can get going. And again, let's try to make it interactive. If you got no tomatoes, right? Nobody's getting bitter. All right, perfect. So let's take a look at. My job is to basically educate you. The book you have in front of you is going to sort of follow some of the slides. And we're basically with the National Fire Escape Association. It's an organization we just started because we have so much data that came from Fire Escape Services that we actually said we need to start putting these videos and then this industry standard documentation somewhere where you guys have full access to it. So a lot of the times I'll keep referring back to it. We're trying to hopefully have all our documentation in place by April, but right now the website is there. It's under construction, but we have industry standard documentation is already there, so go see it. Industry standard videos are there from all the classes that we've taught, so that's where it is. Our intention is to make so that the association is friendly to all building inspectors, fire inspectors, and housing inspectors, so that means free membership. So once we get the list, you will all be free members of the National Fire Escape Association. The people that do pay to get in it are the vendors, are the engineers, the architects, the painters, and the people who want to make money in the fire escape industry. They're the ones that have to pay to get into that association, okay? So let's take a look at one of the things let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm from Somerville. Paul Nani knows who I am. My dad came into Somerville when we came here from Portugal in 1971. Actually, we came here in 68. We moved into Somerville in 71. And my dad has an ironwork business still there in Somerville. Now, I'm 50 years old, actually 51 as of this January, but my dad hijacked me, guess at what age?
10, 12.
There you go, 10 years old, exactly. So I've been touching this stuff for 40 years. And what happens is I've seen everything right, I've seen everything wrong, I've done everything right, I've done everything wrong. You name it, you ask me, I'll tell you all the right ways to do it, and I'll tell you all the wrong ways to do it. And as a matter of fact, I have a piece of fire escape here that I dragged because a lot of times we do a downtown walk around right after this, and we go look at this stuff. But we were lucky, we were able to slice like a piece of cake a fire escape that is coming from somewhere in Massachusetts off an elementary school. I just took that. This is not 2 months old. Now, some of you recognize this fire escape, so what I want you to do because I know it's not in your city. Can you please all point to what city at your table you think this fire escape you've seen in somebody else's city? Because you would never see one of these in your city. But can you point to somebody in your table that you've seen fire escapes like this in their city?
Point to Paul. Paul.
Okay? So if you could help those people, let them know we've taken one of those fire escapes away from their city. So let's get going and let's talk about the worst case scenario. Firefighters, they show up at a building to do what? Fight fires. If for some reason they have people on a fire escape, are they fighting fires or is it a rescue mission? Rescue mission, right? And they can't fight the fire. So the fire has 3, 5, 10 minutes worth of time to just burn away while they're now getting people off a fire escape. Bridgeport, Connecticut, last month.
Morning, telephone. Firefighters are taking down the ladders and rolling up the hoses. But earlier in the night when they pulled up, there were flames coming out of the side of the building. Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments because when you pull up to a building and you see children and mothers hanging off the side of the fire escape, smoke swirling around them, they said that's scary, scary stuff. They got up there, they got the ladders up, and they said nobody got hurt.
The fire escape, there was 3 or 4 people hanging off the fire escape. They couldn't get off. They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in the fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape.
About 50 people were displaced inside this building. However, firefighters say there's good news tonight. It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in, except the one unit where the fire was in. They said that's good luck to them tonight. I'm Bob Wilson, on the scene of Bridgeport, News 8.
50 people. And not just stuck on that fire escape that they were on in Bridgeport, Connecticut, but stuck on the neighbors' buildings who they thought their building was on fire, so they came out. So here you have all these firefighters basically showing up, and they can't fight a fire. And it was contained to one apartment, but it could have taken the whole building down, and they were just getting people. Now, how can people get stuck on a fire escape? The ladder then come down, the cantilever then come down. Otherwise, most fire escapes with full metal stairs to the ground, that's made to self-evacuate. That's what a fire escape is there for people to self-evacuate, and then for firemen to use it to get out, or firemen to use it to get in and find somebody knocked out that can't get out on their own. But how does 50 people get stuck on a fire escape? So, this is one that just came, but you guys may remember this from many years ago when the Station Night fire occurred. Everybody remember that? Now, I did a class. How many people remember my class from 5 years ago? 3 years prior to that is when this happened. And anybody met Hank Philippi Ryan? A lot of my seminars actually started because of what Hank Philippi Ryan started. And when I took this nationwide to go look at other fire escapes, I inspect all over the country. From here to Seattle, I get the pleasure of seeing all this beautiful country, from California to Seattle, Vancouver, Chicago, everywhere. And your problem here is the same problem there. So there's no special place that has, beautiful fire escape. But when the Station Night fire come, she called me, and she called other iron workers, but she asked, we want to tell people that in case of a fire, you can use a fire escape to get out. I said, well, are you aware that 75% of the fire escapes I look at fail inspection? She didn't want to believe it. So I took her down to downtown by the theater district. I gave her a 15-minute class. I showed her what rusty treads look like, what broken treads look like, and what blown gussets look like. That's what I have here. 15 minutes. And I said, now, she goes, okay, show me some fire escapes. I said, no, you walk anywhere you want in the downtown, and you tell me which fire escapes pass. So she became a fire inspector that day, and this is what, she wanted to do a 1-minute piece. This is what came from it.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him,
Oh, I was scared to death.
but the fire escape that broke underneath him.
Where the railing just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes, rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. So then over here? For months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results.
Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape.
Correct.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one, missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one, a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files.
But there's no fire escape certification.
To see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Right.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the director of inspectional services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No.
4 more fire escapes,
Did it fall through the cracks? Yeah.
not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track. How can they get away with that?
I guess the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on that.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this?
No, but when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. Not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that these things have to be maintained and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Ryan.
All right, that was 2003. Does anybody remember receiving that? Okay, now, anybody here from some of the cities that I mentioned? Anybody, any inspectors here from Boston? Okay.
Come on, guys, be honest.
Okay, so Cambridge, this is a problem nationwide. This is not just here. But let me tell you what they did in Boston that really helped. Right after that, they made it, and this is all about checklist items. You can't remember this. Everybody's been short-staffed, underfunded right now. And if it's a checklist item, so right now you can't close a building permit in Boston without having a current certificate on file. So make it a checklist item. You can open up any permit in your city, but to close the permit, if you have 2 internal stairs, great. If you have an inside and outside stair, where's the certificate? You're not issuing a violation. You're asking for a copy of the certificate, okay, so that you can close the permit. So that helped a lot when this came out. Number 2 is with your fire department. Start working with your fire department, because we teach fire departments, building departments, and housing inspectors, and we have videos already teaching them. But the fire department can work together with you, because you know what the fire department tells the old guys, tell the young guys in the fire department? In case of fire, don't use the fire escape. And you know who they're blaming? That the fire escapes are bad? So, 75 years of neglect, and there's been a reason. Fire escapes are the bastard child of egress. Out of sight, out of mind. You guys got more important things to deal with than the fire escapes, because they're solid, they never break. And you're right. 50 years ago, they never broke. 25 years ago, they never broke.
they're 75 plus years old today. They're old, they're tired, and they look like that. And they're breaking. And you know who they're dropping? They're dropping tenants. You know who else they're dropping? Firefighters. You know who they never drop? Landlords. You know who they, no, you hang building inspectors from the fire escape after somebody gets hurt, because that's the first call that goes out is when something happens horrifically on a fire escape. It's the building department commissioner that's going to get a call, and then they want to know whose area that is, and hang that guy out to dry. So that's the main reason why. And let's see what happened in Boston. You guys, several codes out there must be inspected every 5 years. That's a fairly new thing. Before that, it was must be maintained at all times. And you know what the rule with that is? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Does anybody remember this photograph? What street this comes from? Anybody? It's Marlborough Street, Back Bay, 73, I believe. Okay, this firefighter, this is the 4th story of a building. And he's out there and he's waiting for the ladder to come over there so we can get this woman and her niece. It was the Herald reporter that got this shot. And at the last second, he had one of those motorized cameras. He had to turn away because the last shot was this, and he won a Pulitzer Prize for it. But at the same time, it changed the code in Massachusetts because back then it was must be maintained at all times. And then they added 1028.3, which says must be inspected every 5 years. Throughout the country, most of the codes must be maintained at all times. They're waiting for you to find it. They're waiting for you to inspect it. They're waiting for you, just like this elementary school over here that we have, to walk by and see a bad thing. This thing just came off a elementary school this December. And if we go back in one of your cities and look in the jacket, there probably is a certification for this fire escape 5 years ago. Because it was an opinion letter. And that's what we're going to cover today. Your code says very clearly, you must load test all fire escapes, just like an elevator, and or give satisfactory evidence to the building official through a structural engineer or others qualified to an official in lieu of a load test. That's what we're going to talk about today. That's the 2 things now for 75-year-old fire escapes that you have. You're going to write a violation. You're never going to write another scrape and paint violation because as you've been writing those, guess what we get? We get that. When you start writing a violation that says repair it, paint it, test it. The test is the part that you can eliminate by saying, I will remove the load test, even though all 3 codes talk about it. I'm going to show you all 3 codes. If you give me satisfactory evidence of its strength, and who do you want that? From the owner, from the vendor, or from a professional or a structural engineer? Who do you want it from? And certified, which means not using the word guarantee. Who do you want it from? Because anything happens, you want somebody to carry the liability, right? So let's talk about live load testing. This is a live load test, Beacon Hill. Somebody may remember this case from the past 5 to 7 years. A girl and a guy lived in this building on Beacon Hill, but this rooftop here had a roof deck, and these guys from the 5th floor went across there, and they partied on the neighbor's building at 3 in the morning, drinking. They were 26, 27, guy and girlfriend. The phone rings. Guess who wants to get the phone? All of them. The girlfriend wants it, but is that her apartment? Does she know the trick of how to get out there and come back? No. So she falls 5 stories into this pit. That's a live load test. It's missing pieces of steel, missing pieces up there that, So that's one live load test. Let's look at another one. This fire escape here is in, I believe it's Blackstone. Now, what happened is that the owner of this building, before he carved it into condos, you guys remember the condo craze and everybody was a condo developer? He took these townhouses, carved them into 5, and he basically did the roof himself with his son. But when he put the fire escape back, he had extra bolts, like a mechanic has extra bolts. Do you need them? Nah. So when they were selling one of the condos, not the guy who sold it, but one of the people who already bought it that was selling it, as they're selling the condo, they have the seller and the real estate agent, the buyer and the real estate agent, and one of the trustees say, I want to look at the roof. It's been a while. Well, you should have seen all the rust on it. On the roof, on the brand new roof, as an indication that that thing was just rusting, and they all fell to the ground. So what used to be there is now there, and I'm taking a shot from one of the 3 sisters, because this was triplets. My fire escape was ready to collapse. The one that collapsed already collapsed, and the other one was ready to collapse. But everybody was mangled underneath that piece of steel. Nobody died, but guess what they did? What do you first reach for when you get mangled under a fire escape? Phone number, right? Your phone. You start dialing who? Your lawyer, and you ask your lawyer to call who?
My doctor,
Your ambulance? You know, call 911 for me, because that's how it started. There's now this whole condo was wrapped in litigation. Can't buy it, can't sell it because of what? Take a look at another live load test. This is in Iowa. We get called in as an expert witness in a lot of cases, and all we do is like fire escape CSI. We just basically tell the truth. And if you haven't touched it for 25, 50 years, you got a lot of problems, because there's no way you can call it an accident. It's actually negligence. And whenever you have negligence versus accident, what do you got?
Liability.
Liability wide open to who?
Everybody.
Whoever owns it, whoever signed off on it, whoever did anything. So here's a liability case. This is an owner of several properties that rents to nothing but college students in the Iowa area there. And they were all up there watching the fireworks. So what happened in the fireworks? Three kids, a girl and 2 guys. The fire escape pulls away from the building up there because the guy had his own guys fix the window, put the shingles back on, and then when they took the through bolts out of the fire escape, they put it back in with a lag bolt instead of a through bolt. So when you put those kids, they went boom, boom, boom. That's their blood, that's the fire escape, and that's the smoking gun. You know what that smoking gun was? 8 blocks away in a field. Because when we went there to basically look at the piece and do an investigation, it's me surrounded by a bunch of lawyers. This looks like the leg. And all of a sudden, what do we find is this thing is still in the field. You know, like, hey, yeah, in case you guys need to investigate. But what did we pull out of the ground? We pulled out the piece, and we found the bolt.
Hold on a second.
And then we went back and proved that the reason why was not properly installed again when they took it off. So they were all happy. The smoking gun, this thing's still in litigation, but they're going to be settling because basically they put it back, right? Here's how they were so nervous about putting it back. I don't know who put it back, but they did through bolt it back on this side. They put a post on it to the ground, not on a sleeper, right into the shingles. You know, a nice solid, angled, solid post. These little legs over there, right into the shingles. And right in the corner over there, there was a place for a hole, the old lag bolt, to go back in and tie it into the corner. I was able to go there and lift it and walk it away again and bring it back and put it right back. Again, all being videotaped. So it just became comical because, again, no permit. And this was 2 years after the fact. Here's some additional live load testing. Now, parades in Harvard Square, they look like that, don't they? Remember in the old days when no AC? Fire escapes were what? They were bedrooms. How about situations like this? A lot of times you get these crazy things where for some reason the firemen have to take somebody out of a window, out of a back fire escape. They can't get them out the front door. Something's going on. Always something happens where they have to go through a window. So imagine saving a child and then child and fireman falling through. What we got. And also, just so you know, this right here is a worker fixing a fire escape. One of our members out in Chicago, his dad, 4 years ago, fell 7 stories doing exactly this job. Just fixing it along and boom, it let go. And he fell 7 stories to his death. Hits everybody. It's a great place to have parties. We don't have too many schools in the city, do we? And you don't go, how do you get to the upstairs apartments? It's through the fire escapes. That's where the party's at. It's no smoking buildings. Where do you smoke? On the fire escape. How about a wedding? College students, candles. Where's everything go? On a fire escape. Let's find out who inspects fire escapes. Your code's very clear. Nationwide, the code is clear. Structural engineers, they're always accepted. In some states, they'll allow architects to inspect. So, and our code is very clear. Structural engineers and or others acceptable to the official, right? So if somebody wants to inspect in your area and they want to come and prove themselves to you, if they're not a structural engineer, they have to come and prove to you that they have the credentials to inspect in your area. Some people think city officials inspect the fire escape. I can't tell you how many times after we're inspecting something, somebody says, oh, the official wasn't here, he found nothing, so you're not going to find anything either, are you? I'm like, what official? So they either blame the fire department or the building department saying, there's nothing wrong with your fire escape, just get me a certificate. And I'm like, no. But you think they want to hear me? No. Okay? And fire escape inspectors. There's only 2 licenses that allow inspections to be done. One out of Boston, which is a G3 license, which they allow you to sign the certificate. And one out of California. It's called a Reg 4.
So if you have a G3 license, you can sign off in Boston and in some surrounding cities if they let you. Otherwise, surrounding cities are asking for a structural engineer sign off. If you have a Reg 4 in California, basically you pay $1,000. It's a very intense process of getting yourself licensed. 100 questions, you got to get 80 plus, aside from the $1,000. But every 3 years you got to give them $1,000. And but you're inspecting, you know, all of California with under a Reg 4 license. So there's only 2 licenses in the country. Now, there's a problem that a lot of times in California and here, a G3 license lets you fix the very same things you're inspecting. Any problems with conflict of interest there? So we strongly suggest, whether it's in Boston or whether it's in any of the cities, that if somebody is fixing a fire escape in your city with a G3 license and you've issued them a permit, which many guys don't get, make sure they back it up with a structural engineer sign off. A lot of these guys already have engineer connections that they know that can sign off, but it's just one more line of defense to sign off on something. And if it's crap work, they're getting somebody to sign off on crap work. Or if it's good work, it's somebody that's double checking to make sure the work is getting done. So we'll cover that about opinion letters versus structural engineers versus all kinds of things, right? Right off the bat, guys, this is what we're going to be talking about. Opinions versus load tests versus certified, guaranteed certification. Ready? This fire escape, pass or fail?
Probably fail.
Fail, right? Must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. So it automatically failed the paint test, right? But now structurally it failed, right? So we were asked to come and look at this. This is in Fort Lee, New Jersey, which a lot of people don't know was the silent movie Hollywood of the East Coast before Hollywood became the talkies. It all went out west. But prior to that, it was in this building that they had all the silent movies. So if anybody was anybody, you did a movie inside this theater. It's now a warehouse for storage, but that's what it was. So it's in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Now, the secretary sent me a letter from the structural engineer that they got. Here's a letter. This is called an opinion letter. On that fire escape, they asked me if I use just this letter. It says, fix the one tread. I'm not going to read it to you. Fix the one tread, and there's a bent flat bar somewhere on the fire escape. Fix that, scrape it, and paint it. And this guy says he'll come back and sign off on it. But there's a little bit of a thing here that he always has. It's called an opinion letter. It's a disclaimer. To the best of my information, knowledge, belief, and opinion. Why do all structural engineers have that on their document?
CYA.
Very good. So these opinion letters, I can do this from my car. Just drive up, roll it down, look out the window. Looks good to me today. So to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief today. So we did an inspection, and we failed the fire escape to the point of almost condemning it. So now you get this problem like, who's right and who's wrong? Because a lot of times you guys take this and you put it in your jacket, and what happens? You're covered, you think, right? But then somebody gets there, and that's what happened. A policeman responded to a call, and he fell through one of the stairs. So when a policeman falls through one of the stairs, the fire department gets involved, everybody starts yelling and screaming. This letter, is this going to cover that policeman? The secretary gave me this letter. She goes, I don't believe this letter. So this fire escape needed to be fully refurbished. But yet we have these opinion letters, and we're trying to get away from, the law is very clear nationwide. Load test it, or give me other satisfactory evidence that the fire escape is structurally sound. This is not it. So we have the same disclaimer on the Boston certificate. I believe we have the same disclaimer on the Somerville certificate. Do you guys have it to the best of your information, knowledge, and belief? Yeah. So we're trying to say that nationwide, this disclaimer has been they've been getting away with it because they've been doing less and less and less. They don't walk these fire escapes a lot of times. A lot of times it's called a drive-by, fly-by. You drive by it, you roll down your window, you grab your check, you make some observations, you write a piece of paper that looks like this with no photographs. God forbid you took a photograph. Okay? So now, this is one that's in New Jersey. I was in Chicago recently, and I got another letter that says, hey, couple of things, scrape it and paint it. And I have a building that has, it's an old shoe factory, and there's about 150 apartments in there, and there's 3 of these fire escapes. And they have what's called the reverse cantilever bracket holders, you know, and it's basically this arm that comes down diagonally and it picks up the nose of the end of the steel, right? And the engineer said, this thing's fine, scrape it and paint it, change a couple of bolts here and there, scrape it and paint it. I was just there in Chicago, and I was doing what's called a drive-by to basically using the engineer's report, and I just walk it so I can put a bid on the job. But then I started taking photographs, and I came up with these photographs. I apologize, they must have, you guys see all that rot? I apologize that these then didn't get expanded, but bolts were coming off of my hands, and the rods all the rods, not some of the rods, all the rods coming down were eaten. So that's an 1.5 inch round that is down now to 25% of it. Every single one. And I just photographed it, gave it back to the property manager, so I can't bid this job. Not off this letter that you just gave me. He says, what's wrong? So now they have to bring in a third engineer as a tiebreaker to say who's right. The first engineer who said this was a scrape and paint? The second guy who's coming in to bid it but says, here's some photographic evidence that this thing's ready to collapse, and I have to shut down all 3 fire escapes. Shut down. Give one of those letters that took me away. I'm telling you, dude, you got lots of life safety issues here. Good luck. They have to bring in a third. Confidence tests. This, there was no confidence test in the nation. So we created the first one, and we put it out there free of charge to all the building inspectors, fire inspectors. The first place to take it and put it on their website and adopt it, Seattle. So if you go to seattle.gov, and you basically go to fire prevention, you can just go get a copy of, or we'll send you the copy of, it's either in Word or PDF, and you can put your name up there and your seal, and this is our confidence test that they copied. And you have a copy of it inside. So if you start looking inside, you have a copy of it inside towards the back. You have a copy of this confidence test. So Seattle, Tacoma, New York, New Jersey, a lot of them have adopted, this is a generic, standard confidence test. And it's a confidence test for a structural engineer. And when you read the questions that it asks not for an opinion anymore. It says, it says, are 100% of all the connections on this fire escape verified to be 100% free of all internal rust? And answer the following. All the treads are free of internal rust. Yes, no, or not applicable. Platforms, connections. We even go and tie into the back of the building. So if you want to make up one for your city, and something that's already an industry standard, and it already exists out there, go to tacoma.gov, seattle.gov, or we'll give it to your association president, and he'll give it out to you, because I got a package that I'm going to give you. This right here is the starter pack for some of you. You don't have it yet, but I'll give it to you in the middle of the class. And I've used Boston as an example of what it's going to look like if we did a tag for you, if we did a confidence test that's already, you can just download it right off the internet, and all you do is just change the top, and what we've done for you is put your code into it. That's all. You know, we put your code into it. So I'm going to send you and give you, everybody's going to get a starter pack today, and we're using Boston as an example. It's not approved by anybody yet, so Boston hasn't approved this is what they're using now. This is just I've used Boston as a sample, so you guys can take it back to your legal department and see whether they accept it or not, okay? So let's take a look at some of the things that we have. It has all the requirements, all the information. It talks about renovator's license, EPA, engineer's license, building inspector's license. It gives everybody's information in a nice place for a seal. The second page, which is the most critical one. Let me go back. The second page, where it talks about all the structural. You know one thing we cover in there, besides, you know, the bolts you can't see? How about the connections you can't see into a wall on a 75-year-old building that you can barely see beyond the veneer? This thing is not tied into the veneer. This thing is tied beyond the veneer. Well, we need answers for that. Who's going to answer that? Not a vendor. A structural engineer will get you that answer. So we have answers for that. We're going to talk about what's the concern, because if you're going to load test, you need to get some verification. You need to pass a confidence test before you can even do a load test. So the third thing we talk about that is accepted, and this came out of Tacoma when we did the certificates for them and the 5-year inspections. They came out and they also added, and we liked it, the annual checklist. Now this annual checklist means the structural engineer still does the 5, but you know who does the yearly? The building owner, the fire marshal, the building inspector. You walk through this building every year anyway, and you make the owner walk the fire escape. If it's a 5-story, the building inspector waits downstairs. He doesn't walk the fire escape. He waits downstairs and makes the guy go to the 5th floor, walk it all the way down, operate the cantilever, drop it to the ground, come down, and then sign this questionnaire which says, do all the bolts and everything look pretty good to you? So this is just an opinion. He says, all the paint is in good condition? Because if it ain't, you're gonna write a violation that day. And the last thing is all the doors and all the windows, everything kind of working? So it's 3 simple questions, sign it, give it to me, and there's your yearly inspection. Here's what the tags look like. Now, Seattle has a law, and why do you think they brought me up to Seattle? Because they're proactive? Or did 3 guys fall to the ground on a fire escape that was lag bolted into a wood structure?
Yes.
So when we get there, they had a system there that wasn't one of the greatest, and you could literally self-test your own fire escape. So they came in, we gave them the confidence test, we gave them the training, and guess what they came up with? And they have a tagging system. Every fire escape that is certified by a structural engineer has a white tag on it, just like an elevator. Permanently affixed to the fire escape or next to the building in a permanent nature so that it's 7 to 10 feet off the ground. You have to be able to read it, and you have to read when the next inspection is going to be, who the engineer was, and who the vendor was that did the work. So you don't have to wonder whether or not back at the office, this fire escape has a tag. You walk by it every year, and even the tenants look, hey, this thing was like, needs a reinspection, just like an elevator. How many tenants tell the maintenance company or the management company that their elevator's out? So you need something that lets the people know. And if the fire escape is bad, you got a yellow one on it. If the fire escape is dangerous, you got a red on it. Now, we are telling you that it took 75 years to ignore this bastard child of egress. You're not going to fix this overnight. What we're suggesting is that you just get into a point where you're going to identify all the fire escapes in your city only. You guys are going to get tags that have your city information here, and you only put up reds and yellows. You have a program where all fire escapes in your city must be tagged like an elevator. That's all. You just need a tag. And this is nothing but a safety tag for the safety of the tenants and the safety of the firemen who are going to use it until such time that all the fire escapes get certified, which could take 5 years. Because you got court, absentee landlords, you name it. But in the middle of the night, when you got a firefighter showing up in a smoky situation, and the gray-haired captains have been telling him, in case of fire, never get on a fire escape, never get on a fire escape. And he gets there and there's a white tag on it. Guess what he can do? Just jump.